isn't America's big hit The Horse with No Name?
In the desert, they don't give you no name, 'cause there ain't no one for give you no name. Da, 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 da.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm Arizona Family political editor Dennis Welch.
Dennis, fake news Welch. Try to tell the truth.
And this is the Politics Unplugged podcast.
Dennis, if you have a problem with substance abuse, I am more than willing to talk to you anytime you need.
And welcome back to another edition of Politics Unplugged, the podcast edition. And today I'm joined by Paul Bentz. Paul, one of the best pollsters, one of the best political minds here in Arizona. Thank you very much for joining us here today. And we are going to be talking about third parties in politics. Elon Musk announced he's going to be starting the America Party. And I wanted to talk to you because, again, you are one of the better political minds here, I think, in Arizona, about just third parties in general. And I want to start with, how come they haven't worked well in the past?
You would think that they would do better here. A third of our electorate, almost 1.5 million folks, are registered as independent. Mm-hmm. They don't choose to be of one of the parties. But the challenge is everyone sort of assumes, they must all be moderates and they must all, just don't like the two parties. But it goes a little deeper. First of all, it's a broad and diverse group. There's incredibly progressive independents. There's incredibly conservative ones. But one of the biggest factors is they don't want to be part of a party. Mm-hmm. So, you think you've got this natural constituency that you can tap into. But they're really not. They're not joiners. They don't want to be part of a given party. And
they like the branding of being an independent, right? Because they really believe they drink Pepsi because they are one in a million.
Exactly, and they think for themselves. They're probably even more like Dr. Pepper drinkers. I'm a pepper, but this is what a pepper person's like. Third parties are difficult because the natural assumption is you're just going to go get independents, right? And that doesn't typically work. What we really see is mostly third parties end up being spoilers, whether it's Ross Perot or Ralph Nader, the Green Party or the party that Perot tried to put together. They tend to impact around the edges or play spoiler, or they might affect policy a little bit, but it's very difficult, and no third party's really been able to be in charge.
Mm-hmm. It is interesting because, you look back historically, it just hasn't worked. Ross Perot, sure, that was it for those old enough to remember that was something. I think He started polling at one point at over or around 20%. That was pretty incredible. Before that, you got to go all the way back to the Rough Rider himself, Teddy Roosevelt and his Bull Moose Party. But he was anything but a typical candidate because he's a former president.
Right. And incredibly well known. And I don't think Elon Musk is no Teddy Roosevelt.
I knew Teddy Roosevelt, and sir, he is no Teddy Roosevelt.
It goes without saying. But, as you know, I'm a little bit of a pro wrestling fan. I do like to watch wrestling from time to time.
Sure.
And, the best wrestling matches are typically one-on-one, and you've got Republicans versus Democrats. It's not enough just even to be identifying. A lot of folks don't even just say I'm a Republican. They just go, I know I'm not a Democrat, and vice versa. I know I'm not those guys. And, that one-on-one, when you make it a triple threat match, it's very difficult to create heat among the three to keep them even. And so what you end up seeing is the third party just doesn't have that same heat. I think the notion here is that Elon Musk thinks most people hate the two parties, but that they hate the two parties. I don't think that means they're rushing to go form a different party to be a part of.
Yeah, what do you think they are saying when they say they hate both parties? What do you think voters are saying that when they tell pollsters that and things like that? What is the message?
Well, I think part of the challenge is they don't like the way the partisan system is set up, the way our primaries are conducted. 80% of our voters, 80% of our positions are selected in the primary, where very few people participate, and it's a very niche system that rewards the partisan edges. The most progressive candidates, the most conservative or MAGA candidates tend to win those, and then they create the system where very few folks are even focused on government. Like, if the Democrats don't figure out a way to talk about something besides how much they hate Trump, they're going to have a really tough 2026. They got to articulate what they're for, but it's so adversarial. I think that's what people really like, is how negative and adversarial things are these days.
Yeah, and I pulled up this poll from Gallup, was taken shortly before last year's election. nearly 60% of Americans say they want a third party. But again, just it just doesn't happen. I mean, I'm surprised it was only 58%, or it was 58% last year, because when you look at the median age now of Americans is like almost 39 years old,
Right.
And you had two 80-year-olds running.
Septuagenarians, yeah. Octogenarians, yeah.
Octogenarians
Yeah.
running last year, and I know some people were pretty bummed out about that, and that may be playing into some of this whole renewed talk about third party stuff, and the people feeling there's a need for it,
Right.
because you've got two guys that are far above the median age of Americans.
Well, I agree, and younger voters are the ones who tend to be almost exclusively registering as independent these days. It's interesting they said that people 58, 60% think that there should be a third party. The question really is, would you join the third party? And what does this third party stand for? I think that what we're seeing right now with Musk is Musk spent a lot of money in the presidential election, and he spent a lot of money supporting Republicans, and I think he thinks his money can replicate that infrastructure. But the problem is independents don't have that same sort of organizing infrastructure passion. You don't have people showing up at precinct committee meetings passionately independent, right? And then also, like, what's the party, what are they going to stand for? What are their policy issues? Because, like I said, people are sort of disaffected on both sides of the aisle, but unless that's a platform that they can get behind and it's pretty universally held or well known, they're going to have a challenge.
And
in that way
you bring
well.
up a really great point about that, because now there's a named party and a face to that party. That changes everything. You've done a lot of polling over the years, and usually when there's like two candidates and then or that are named candidates, and then you add or someone else. Someone else always does pretty damn well, man. Because like when you ask somebody that, a pollster asks someone that, they're thinking of their perfect candidate,
Right.
Whoever that is. But now you've got a name and a face to this third party. That changes the entire dynamic, because Elon Musk is, to put it diplomatically, a very polarizing figure.
Right. No, I'm like, look at the Forward Party or look at the No Labels Party, these different parties that have come into town. The No Labels Party, for example, only has about 50,000 people statewide compared to 1.5 million independents. And so, once you put a face on it, the whole somebody else or, throw everyone out, that's great until you actually have the name for it and who's a part of it. And actually, I've been thinking a lot about this. The truth of the matter is, if they really wanted to disrupt the system, they shouldn't start one more party and make a third party. They should do two parties and make it more like the European system, where you have like a far right, do like a center right party and a center left party, and that then you have to build
a parliamentary movement.
Yeah. Well, then you got to have a coalition of governing, and you give people a place to land. I mean, we see this all the time. Disaffected Republicans can't bring themselves to vote for a Democrat, and disaffected Democrats can't bring themselves to vote for a Republican. I don't know if one party or an America party, if they're suddenly going to say, "Oh, I'll vote for the America Party person," especially if they think he's with a controversial figure like Musk. Musk is controversial. There's no doubt.
But he's also very rich, and like money can take you so far. But you got to have a message. You got to, you got to put something out there. Still, like, I really don't know what this is going to look like moving forward. And again, to your point, like, how do you capture those independents and whatnot? Musk seems to think that there is 80% of Americans in the middle. I don't think so. What do you think?
It's probably more like 55%.
There you go.
Maybe.
There you go.
Maybe some would argue it's probably even less. I hear people say all the time there's only 20% of the electorate that's movable, and you're just trying to win around the margins. But on a given issue, we see things like in heavily Republican areas, tax issues can pass depending on the messaging and things like that. So I don't think necessarily that there aren't a lot of folks. But what's the party going to be about? The other thing is, like you said, money can only take you so far. You have to have passion. And I think that's one of the false positives that Musk got out of this Republican primary is he poured money into a system of passionate Republicans. There's no turning point for independents. There's no youth movement of independents that are suddenly ready to go out and fly the flag and do whatever. He brought in the money and really boosted a system that was quite frankly, well behind. We talked about it a year before the last election, that Republicans were really behind Democrats when it came to organizing, particularly here in Arizona. They caught up quickly, and they, in fact, I'd say they beat Democrats in this last cycle. But there's no infrastructure to do that for sort of the disaffected folks. People who aren't, paying a lot of attention. They're not going to suddenly be out willing to go knock on doors and man a booth and go get people to sign up and register to vote. They're just that grassroots level is not there.
It's interesting because what I'm taking from this conversation is just a lot of false flags out there. You can look at, there's a ton of data out there. Like, it shows Americans are disaffected with this, that, and the other. 58, 60%, want this. But then you start looking at the logistics and the reality of organizing that into a movement. And you find out, and we've talked about this on the show a lot, that independents in Arizona run the gamut, man. I mean, there are independents that dropped out of the Republican Party because they're not far right enough. And then there are Democrats same way on the other end of the spectrum. How do you organize that?
How do you organize them? And then, even if you start with sort of the disaffected the Jeff Flakes of the world, the people that don't like where MAGA is going, who have a history of electoral, how do you get those collection with other maybe disaffected Democrats and others who didn't like the Biden choice or any number of things? How do you get them together in the room? Because they've historically disliked each other. And if they look across the room and they see somebody that they used to not like or somebody that they don't trust, you're suddenly going to shake hands with them and it's a really narrow segment of people that are willing to sort of let bygones be bygones and do something like this.
So what would someone like Elon Musk have to do to make this a successful project?
I'm not sure. I think articulating the goals of what they're trying to accomplish. Some days it feels like he's doing it just to stick it to Trump, and other days it seems very like he actually wants to accomplish something. But he needs to broaden the coalition. Get additional former Republicans, former Democrats, independents, and others to come together of big names. And it can't be, quote unquote losers. It can't just be it can't just be them. It's got to, have some broad based. He needs younger individuals, also there as part of it. And then they got to figure out. I'm not sure. I think he's looking to launch this nationwide. But if they're smart, they'd pick a couple of states that could have a real impact. Arizona likely being one of them, and run it as sort of a test case first.
What was the name of that other party, that middle of the road moderate party they tried here a few years ago?
Was that the Forward Party or the?
Democrats were all up in arms about it last year, the year before.
That was the one where they were trying to keep them from getting qualified for the ballot.
Yeah.
Was that the Yang group, or which group was
it? I think it may have been there. It just doesn't work.
No.
Again, this is not a lot of passion. Do you think there'll ever be a time where a third party candidate or a third party can actually become successful? Or do you think, Democrat, Republican is so branded within American politics that it's here for the duration?
It's hard. But I mean, if you look at our local governments, cities and towns right now, they have a nonpartisan election where everybody competes together. And if you look at a lot of those elected officials, many of them are independent. Many of them don't necessarily identify as a Republican or a Democrat. So in a nonpartisan system, or in a more competitive system where people are able to compete equally, then yes, they can have a shot at it. But the way the system is set up now, where most of our districts are won in the primary, where they're either a heavily Republican or a heavily Democratic district, with only 5 or so being really competitive, it's very difficult for a third party to play more than just a spoiler.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring up the local nonpartisan races, and you can put nonpartisan races in heavy in quotes, because those things always seem to turn up. Just go ask Julie Spilsbury over in Mesa right now, who holds a nonpartisan office but is a registered Republican but faces a recall now because why? She endorsed Kamala Harris last year. So it's such a part of branding. I just don't know if you'll ever see the two-party system go away.
I think it'd be very difficult. Maybe if you started something now with younger voters, by the time they become the voting majority, maybe you could weave that in there. But at this point, it's very difficult to comprehend that a third party or an independent group could play as big of a role as the partisans, because right now we know what a Republican stands for loosely. We know what a Democrat stands for. We know that they don't like each other, and we know right? We know those things, but like if it's a triple threat match, you know who's the enemy of who, you don't know.
That's why we bring you here, man, to bring it back to pro wrestling. That's why you're here, dude. That's why you're here.
That's why I'm here, brother. Let me tell you something. But really, just not being of the two parties, I hate the two parties, isn't enough. If maybe you take some of the better ideas from Republicans, the better ideas from Democrats, and put those together. But that's where it gets very difficult, because once you put not only that face and name that you talked about, but once you put a platform together, that's where you start to see
really start losing people, right? I mean, yeah, because those open-ended questions are just, that's why I kind of brought this there. It's like, you know, it's just like I don't know how to read some of this stuff. It's like, you know, every year or so you get those polls about Congress approval rating at an all-time low.
Right. But
everybody, you go poll the current congressman in their district, and they're all doing probably pretty well.
Absolutely. We talk about this a lot, how they hate Congress but love their congressman.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the nation's in the toilet, but you know.
But my guy's amazing.
Right. It happens all the time.
You know.
Yeah. So it's difficult because voters can hold those disparate ideas in their head. Like the poll says, people think there should be a third party, but then I bet if you ask them, would you join that third party? A much smaller segment would say yes. And then if you said the third party is going to be about this, this, and this, it's going to have this position on immigration, this position on taxes, this position on abortion.
And Elon Musk is going to be the head of this. You're going to lose people. You know, it's just that's the thing that happens. Well, all right, man. I think we'll have to just wrap it there. I want to thank you for joining and stopping by here. But since you brought up wrestling, let's end on this question. Greatest pro wrestler of all time?
Randy the Macho Man Savage.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
The best.
Not George the Animal Steel?
He's another good one. Eating the turnbuckle.
Dude, he ate the turnbuckle, man. He had back hair.
Yes. Oh, he was a good one.
I know he's Colin's favorite, George the Animal Steel.
Didn't he also have a blue tongue?
Yes. Oh, yeah. And he also had a really creepy relationship with, or tried to chase down Miss Elizabeth, Randy the Macho Man's wife. Yeah.
She was an attractive woman.
Which was, very difficult to come by back
even
then.
Someone like George the Animal Steel would be attracted
George
to her.
Gets it. George got it. But there's a lot of really good wrestlers. I mean, Ric Flair is another amazing one, or Dusty Rhodes. A lot of people, but
Dusty Rhodes.
But Dusty Rhodes. But the Macho Man Randy Savage. Oh yeah, he's my favorite by far.
I always liked Junkyard Dog back in the day.
Oh, I did too.
Because I remember watching pro wrestling when it was Atlanta Championship Wrestling on like TBS or TNT. I believe you had, before he was the $1 million man, which seems like nothing now.
Right.
Today it'd be the $1 billion man.
Yep.
But I remember, I think before he was the $1 million man, it was a young Ted DiBiase.
Oh wow, yeah. That's
it was on there. A young King Kong Bundy, maybe.
Oh yeah. The regional wrestling went back in the day when you used to. I mean, WWF is the one who came in and basically started gobbling up all the best wrestlers from the region. What you used to do is you'd go do Atlanta, or you'd go be in one of these other communities and sort of in a regional wrestling. And then when they got sick of you, you would go to a different one and wrestle there for a while. And then WWE just plucked up all the good guys and then sort of collapsed that whole system.
So there's this bar I go to every now and then to grab a few beers, and they play old wrestling from from the early 1980s, and it's amazing to watch, dude.
I'll have to check that out.
It is amazing to watch, and I like to think about, like, when they were done with the matches, those guys got together afterwards and just crushed Budweisers.
So many Budweisers
together,
yes.
You know,
yes.
like they, it was like. All right, man, Paul, it's always great talking with you, man. Thanks for stopping by here.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome back to the second half of the Politics Unplugged podcast. As always, Colin Stan, the producer extraordinaire of this fine, lovely show, joins us. Thanks, man. What's going on, dude?
Always a pleasure. Not much.
How's your week been?
Week's been okay. It's been okay. We were off last week.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Concluded that we didn't really have a whole lot to say on the July 4th edition. Took the day off, so we're back after a 2-week break.
What was the one post we saw on Blue Sky that summed up July 4th? That it felt like throwing a birthday party for an 18-year-old dog.
Yeah. Yeah, there were some people who weren't all that celebratory of the mood.
No, there We're certainly not.
Yeah.
I hope everybody did enjoy their holiday. You know, it's always fun. I, for one, not the biggest fan of the holiday, not because I'm unpatriotic or anything like that. It's just because living in Arizona, July 4th always means it's super, super, super duper hot.
Yeah. And I have a dog who hates loud noises.
Yeah, and fireworks, I've never, even as a kid, talked to my mom, man. I was a weird kid, dude. Didn't like fireworks.
Yeah.
I thought they were dumb.
Yeah. And I may have mentioned before, I spent 4 years working at Disneyland when I was in college.
Yeah.
I've seen enough fireworks to last the rest of my life. Thanks.
Great.
And now they freak the hell out of my dog. And we've got a neighbor who blows off all the illegal stuff every year. So,
well, I will say, knowing what I know now, I would have paid good money to see the big legendary San Diego firework fail, like 2013.
Yes.
I mean, they shot off
the
like
mushroom cloud.
Yeah, it was just like, like several hours worth of, or an hour's worth of fireworks, or 2 hours in 60 seconds.
Yeah.
That's, dude.
Yeah.
Dude.
The video of that's pretty spectacular.
Yeah, I would have been there for that. Like, sign me up for that. I mean, I only got to go and watch fireworks for like a minute, and it's like just like amazing.
Yeah,
I'm in.
dramatic and short.
Yeah, I know.
Absolutely.
And it was just like, it's always referred to as this the firework fail. I'd say firework success.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my favorite.
2 minutes, and all right, kids, back in the car.
I'm telling you, man. Like, I mean, if you're if you're in San Diego and you're into fireworks, I kind of feel bad for you because everything fails to compare after that.
Yeah. Yeah. You're not matching that ever.
It's like,
I mean, it'll be longer. You'll have a longer, bit of entertainment, but you're not matching that.
Yeah, no, but it's like, oh, dude, that ending was amazing. So, yeah, ending wasn't shit. I was there.
If you took everything from the beginning and combined it with the ending.
Yeah. I was there, and
just be glad you're not on the boat that's launching it.
I was there in San Diego, man. I saw the real deal.
Yes. Yeah. No, not to be topped.
No, not to be topped, man. Hey, what's just top line thoughts, man? I thought it was an interesting conversation with Paul about third party politics, and again, it was good reminding me. It was like you do all these prep work about what people say. They want a third party, but like, man, that really starts changing when you start adding names and faces and platforms and issues,
and particularly when the name and the face are Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, he was framing it like they're, 80%'s in the middle and there's nothing for them. Well, you think Elon Musk is in the middle? I mean, if I'm in the middle of the two parties, I'm not looking to the world's richest man who's pissed off at the big, beautiful bill because it didn't cut enough services for the poor.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. The guy who just reprogrammed his little AI thing on his big website so it would spout stuff praising Hitler. I'm not sure. I'm not sure he is the name in the face for someone to represent the 80% in the middle, as he put it.
Well, I mean, he jumped on the Trump train, and then acted like he was the conductor. Right? He'd be like, it's like Scottie Pippen saying like, "I won 6 rings."
Which he probably has at some point.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like,
yes, yeah.
I mean, I get it. You were a great ball player, but
and
maybe Scottie Pippen's too much of a thing. Maybe it's like like Craig Hodges or something like that saying, "I won 6," or
Robert Horry,
or Robert Horry. Like, yeah,
you did, but. And I mean, if Musk is going to get a following, it's to the people who are to the right of Trump, and good luck with that.
And to be fair, like Trump's not popular because of Musk. Musk was popular because of Trump.
Yes,
and now that went Splitsville,
he loses all of that.
Yeah,
and it's not like he's gaining anything with the people who don't like Trump. They don't like Musk at least as much as they don't like Trump.
Yeah, I mean, all of a sudden it's like when you break up with someone and you try to call your friends and they're not that your mutual friends or the friend and they're not calling you back. So you lost them in the breakup.
Yeah.
He's gonna find that out. I think. I don't see it working. I do see the Democrats are hopeful it could play a spoiler.
And that's all it's going to do.
Yeah.
It might shave a few points off for Trump, but that's about it.
I mean, again, like the Ross Perot party, back his party back in the day, people were amazed when he was polling at near 20%.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though, and the reason you see stuff like this work, you see third or fourth parties in Europe or Latin America and some other things, is their government is structured differently from ours. All our elections are winner take all. All of our, and it's broken up state by state or district by district, but all of those are winner take all. So if you get 15%, it doesn't mean anything. Whereas in those other countries, if you get 15%, it means you have 15% of the government. So the Reform Party could have gotten 20% of the government if it's set up that way.
Yeah.
And it's not. So you can't get any kind of foothold at all.
Yeah. And people who think that's a better form of government, it's like, well, go pay more attention to governments in Europe. They've got their own problems too,
You are trading one set of problems for another.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you start getting coalitional governments like that. I mean, you've got very small parties that can hold oversized power.
Yes.
On someone's government, depending on the situation, depending on the circumstances.
Yes. But it's, that's why a Green Party vote in England might mean something, whereas here, when they say you're throwing away your vote and people get very defensive about that, you effectively are, because you're not going to do anything.
And there would have been a time I would have disagreed with you on that, because I would have argued that politicians paid attention to margins, right? It used to be if you barely eked out a victory, it was a message to that candidate. I got to pay attention to the folks that on the other side who didn't vote for me. I've got to, mend some fences.
Yeah.
But now what we've seen recently is if you get 50+1,
it's a mandate.
You declare a mandate,
yes,
which is bullshit, but that's what they do.
Yes.
So you're right. I mean, and some of the stuff, and I get voting your principle, and I would never, ever tell anybody you're throwing away your vote. And to maybe vote something else or something like that. But you should always vote your conscience. But essentially, that vote doesn't go anywhere that's going to represent your views.
Yes, if you are a voter on the left, but you have quibbles with the Democrats, so you decide you're going to vote for some third party on the left, you end up with the right winning.
Well,
and maybe you send a message, congrats.
Yeah.
This is the government you voted for.
Or you said, I've got a good friend of mine who's a PhD in poli-sci, foreign affairs, and all this other kind of stuff. Really smart dude. And he was annoyed during the campaign with the Palestinian protesters.
Yeah.
And he's even more annoyed today because, he'll say, I wonder, I just want to ask them, how's it working out for you now? I'm like, you can do those things, but again, remember, we are in a world where 50+1 equals a mandate. Even though it's not a mandate, it equals a mandate.
Yeah. And I'm always skeptical of the scapegoating after the fact. I don't know how many people who are angry about the Palestinian situation didn't vote because of that. It reminded me of the Bernie Bros last time. We always heard about the Bernie Bros who cost Clinton the election because they wouldn't. And what were those, like 5 guys?
Yeah. Well, in Trump won handily in Arizona.
Yeah.
In some of the other swing states, would that have been different? Had there not been those protesters, mostly younger people out there voicing their displeasure
who tend not to vote.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think it would have mattered a whole lot. And maybe, and this is speaking out of school here because I haven't done the research on this, maybe would have mattered in Michigan. But even if that would have mattered in Michigan, Donald Trump still would have won.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, you face facts, so.
Yeah.
Anyway, man, I did have to ask you, man, who was your favorite pro wrestler growing up? Would you like that for a transition?
Yeah. No, it's a great transition. Yeah, I mean, maybe Macho Man Savage.
Yeah.
I was not that. I mean, I kind of dug it in high school and the start of college, and then I lack the enthusiasm that Paul Bentz still holds for it.
Oh, I think I got out of it after like maybe junior high for me.
Yeah.
But like I did enjoy George the Animal Steel a whole lot.
Yes.
Eating the turnbuckle.
Yes.
I mean, come on.
And every
man.
time you get the announcer shocked that he was eating the turnbuckle.
No. It's like he does this every time.
Yeah, you've seen this before.
You should be shocked is when he just leaves the ring without munching on a turnbuckle.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we're shocked. Why? George the Animal Steel did not eat a turnbuckle.
I remember when I was just starting out and I was a photographer, I got to go shoot a wrestling event at, I believe, the Lane County Fairgrounds in Eugene, Oregon, that involved Brutus the Barber Beefcake. Which that always made me laugh because, like, your name is Brutus Beefcake and you decide you need a shtick? Isn't your shtick that you're Brutus Beefcake?
No, he's a barber.
He's a barber.
He's a barber.
So he's a big, pretty boy with a big, big puffed up, chemically induced muscles.
Yeah.
But that's not enough, so now he'll also cut your hair. Brutus the Barber Beefcake.
I will destroy you.
But you're going to look good at the end.
And trim up the hair there.
Yeah.
Chop up the lettuce on top.
Yeah.
Man. Anything else you want to go over politically over the week, man? It's been like such a long week, and I almost feel like you just got to acknowledge this stuff. We are like in the dog days this summer, maybe not technically, but man, in Arizona, we are in the dog days.
Yeah, that's slow.
I mean, I did a story on flying cars.
Yeah.
This week.
Yeah. It seems an unlikely development anytime soon.
It's just.
I could be wrong. They're getting funding from the state, but or might be, I guess.
Well, it's $2 million. They got to study this thing
Okay.
and just looking at them. And I know that Senator Farnsworth from Mesa has already spoken with the mayor of his hometown about finding what they're called vertiports, where these flying taxis or cars can land and recharge. But my question, and I didn't ask him at the time, but like if they're flying cars, why can't they land on the street and drive to a charging station?
Yeah, I don't know.
And trust me, man, God, I wish this was like a radio show. We take some calls, but like, I don't trust a lot of drivers in this
That's the
town.
thing.
Do I want these people
I'm not
flying?
overwhelmed. Yeah, I don't know that the people I find myself next to on the freeway, where I would feel better if we were 100 feet off the ground.
Oh, dude, apparently some of these guys, according to that one guy I spoke with that company in San Francisco, who I don't think he's lying, but I also think he's a salesman too.
Yeah.
He's an engineer and he's selling his company, but he's like, he says those cars can go really high, like thousands of feet in the air. No, thank you.
No, thank you. Although let's be honest, if you're in a flying car 100 feet off the air versus 1,000 feet off the air, I'm not sure it makes that much of a difference. Like if that engine stalls,
Oof.
probably not in a great
Well,
position.
like at 100 feet from there, maybe you survive.
Or maybe you don't have enough time for the chute to open.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know, dude. I don't know. I'm not into it.
No.
I'm not a Luddite. I
No.
love technology.
Yeah.
This one,
It's going to take a while to develop.
I'm
the
sorry, I
comfort
don't trust
level.
my fellow Americans, and I don't really trust myself to drive that thing. That's why I
No.
never got a motorcycle. I would literally kill myself on a motorcycle.
Oh, yeah.
I am not that careful of a driver. I'm pretty careful, but I'm not that careful.
And this just strikes me as a terrible area to do that.
Yeah.
The way the grid of the city is lined, you're going essentially 60 miles an hour on city streets and more than that on the freeways. And there are a lot of drivers, and it's just, and you're hard to see.
Yeah.
It's a bad combo.
Yeah. So.
All right. You want to go to the musical list?
No, boy.
We haven't had a good musical debate in a while.
We haven't, and I got a behind the curtain. What is the fourth wall, fifth wall? What is the thing we call
Fourth
it?
wall?
Or the fourth wall. Like I did not do my homework.
You didn't do your homework.
I was
You just
late.
threw it together.
I finished it up.
Yeah.
I had started my homework.
Yeah. No, you've got a list.
I've got a list.
So there was a running thing on Blue Sky for a while where everyone is listing their top 10 movies of the last 25 years. I think the New York Times had asked for it or something. And then a couple days ago, Drew Magary, I believe, former Deadspin guy now, the defector, said, hey, I don't care about movies. What are your top 10 albums of the last 25 years?
Ooh.
I thought, well, that's up our alley.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I crafted my list last night, and you threw yours together after we talked to Paul. You want to go first? You want me to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first, and you probably got a better list and a little more thought. But this was just like things I remember, and I had to double check. Some of the stuff I thought was 21st century was not.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff on this list like barely made it in there.
Yeah, I've got a few. I've got a few from 2000. Yeah.
So damn, I'm an old man.
Yeah.
The first thing I thought of, and the first one on my list was Outkast's Speaker Box, the Love Below. And I love that record that was constantly playing back in the day when I was going through my divorce. Like everywhere, I just had a lot of fun, and it's kind of a soundtrack for that moment.
So that one is because the one I kept seeing on everyone else's list was Stankonia.
Yeah, it was great, you know. Yeah. But let's see here. The another one was, and I know this is a little bit controversial because I know a lot of people hate this band, a lot of people love this band, but the Strokes, This Is It.
Yeah. I can never get past the sound of that record.
I love the vibe on that record, the tone on that record, the sound of it. It's just it more so than any particular song. I just love the vibe of that record.
Yeah. It's just got this sort of cheap tinny quality that was a decision. I mean, it's an aesthetic choice that I struggled with.
Yeah.
It was a good record.
And so now we get into Dennis's obscure bands.
Yeah.
Bands I'm not sure that are household names, but here I'll just name off a few. We don't have to talk about them, you know, unless you're familiar with the records.
No, go right ahead.
There's a band from L.A. called The Bronx. Their first record was really amazing and powerful and important for me. Band called Dillinger 4 Situation Comedy, great record.
Okay.
Great record. Off with Their Heads had an album called Clear the Air. Now, Dillinger 4 and Off with Their Heads are like descendants of the Husker Du replacements. They're like Minneapolis bands, really great rock and roll bands. I mean, just really great punk rock bands. I had to throw in a couple of mainstream punk albums here. Green Day, Warning.
Okay.
It's my favorite Green Day record. They're my favorite major record release, you know, that was released on a major label. You know, I thought it was like the most like mature and thoughtful record. It was after they stopped naming albums Dookie.
Yeah.
You know, and before
they weren't really in a deep, thoughtful.
Yeah, and before they started going like all angsty teenager, I hate politics and American Idiot.
Yeah.
Which is like, again, it just felt like, you know, a lot of those songs could have been written by an angsty teenager.
Yeah. So this is the period between the songs about poop.
Yes.
And before the genius political insight that earned them the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yes. Post poop.
Okay.
Pre-politics.
All right.
Okay. And Warning is very much an acoustic. It's like it's an acoustic driven record. Like you get it's a if you haven't listened to it in a while, if you're a Green Day fan, you haven't listened to it in a while, go back, revisit this one. I think commercially it was probably one of their least successful records. Go back, give it another chance.
Yeah.
Rancid, Indestructible, really enjoyed that. Another rap band on here called it was a band called Run the Jewels, their first record, self-titled. Love that record. Another album that barely made it into the 2000s. At the Drive-In, Relationship Command.
Okay.
That record blew me away. My old band used to play shows with them, and knew them a little bit. And when I quit that band and got off the road back in the day and went back to school, you know, I just was pretty focused. I was, you know, getting married. I was working 40 hours a week and taking 15 to 18 credit hours. I wasn't paying attention to music. It's all late 90s stuff.
Yeah.
And finally, like, you get a break, you start hanging out and like reconnecting with things. And this album had come out, and I remember listening to it. I was just like, I was like intimidating how good it was.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I can't believe I know people put out something this good.
Yeah.
Like, this is amazing.
Yes.
And then I have to say this too. And this is a weird one for the list. It was random. Like a good friend of mine turned me on to this band and this record. It was the Yeah Yeah Yeahs.
Oh, okay.
And he turned me on to this, and it was just like I couldn't stop listening to the record. So so it was something that came to mind as I was finishing up my list because I didn't do my homework.
Yes.
And you'll notice that Eric Clapton did not make my list, and I'm guessing he did not make your list.
I have a Clapton free list. Yes. Let's see. Butch Walker, Letters.
Okay.
Better known as a producer, but some of his solo stuff is just great. Elliott Smith, Figure Eight.
I thought about Elliott Smith, putting him on there. That's a really great album.
It's a great album, and they've just finally reissued it with a remaster. They reissued it as a 3-record set with bonus tracks, and they remastered it because it had a very limited release, and to find one of those, it's like $200. And then they put out a more widespread one, and the mastering on it was terrible. And finally, there's a great version out there.
What was the one? Was this a 2001? The one that was released posthumously or posthumously?
He was
basement
still
at
around.
the bottom of a hill.
Yeah, from a basement on the hill.
Yes,
that was his posthumous one. That was after Figure Eight.
I really enjoyed that record
That's
too.
very good. Yeah. David Bowie's The Next Day.
Okay.
People always put Black Star on the best list, and Black Star is so hard to listen to.
Grim.
It came out about a week before he died, and once he died, you realize that's what the whole album is about, and it's a tough listen.
Yeah.
It's great, but I love The Next Day.
Mhm.
Wilco's Yankee Hotel Foxtrot.
It's good stuff, man.
It's
I'm
a
a big Wilco fan.
Yeah.
One of my damn it, I probably should have added to my list. We'll put it an honorable mention is the record they did with Billy Bragg.
Mermaid Avenue.
Yes.
Great album. My favorite of theirs is probably Summer Teeth, but that was in the 90s. But Yankee Hotel.
California
Stars.
California Stars with Billy Bragg. I mean, Mermaid Avenue, California Stars on that roof.
Yeah.
Great record. Great song.
John Bryan's Meaningless.
Okay. I'm not familiar with that.
He is he's a brilliant musician who almost only does soundtracks. He does like the Paul Thomas Anderson movies, like Magnolia. I think he did the soundtrack for that. He did one just straight up record and self-released it in 2000, like before anyone did that. So it was one of those where it's like brilliant, but no one heard it. And like I ordered it off his website back years and years before people did that. And they finally reissued it, and it's on vinyl now. And it's a great record. He's a great songwriter, brilliant musician. He had these legendary weekly shows at this club called Largo in Los Angeles, where he would just grab whatever instrument was nearby and play a version of, a cover of something. He'd do "Don't Dream It's Over" by Crowded House on a garbage can, and it would be brilliant. So he's got this huge musical following, mostly now known for the soundtrack stuff. On Sunset by Paul Weller.
Okay.
I could have put.
I'm down with that.
I could have put
anything about Paul Weller is
he's very consistent. They're very good.
And I go to all his shows every time he shows up in the States and Phoenix.
Yes. Yeah. Again, I think the last time he was in Phoenix was in 1979 with the Jam. I believe at the Celebrity, possibly opening for Blue Oyster Cult.
Can't even imagine.
I was not at that show. Suck It and See by the Arctic Monkeys.
It's another band I considered in my hasty rush to wrap up.
It's not their most heralded. People love AM, or they go back to like the first one. Suck It and See is great. Stupid title. Great
They're
album.
one of those bands like recently I've been listening to more and more again, and like I think appreciating them more now than when they were coming out.
And the songwriting's really good.
Yeah.
Father John Misty, I Love You, Honey Bear.
who you recently saw.
Yeah, saw it at Pappy and Harriet's in the middle of the California desert.
Yeah.
He's great. I love that album. Frank Turner's Tape Deck Heart.
That's a good record.
Yeah,
That's a good
another one where there are a bunch of choices I could have made, but
Yeah.
that have like he's got a song called Polaroid Picture on there I love, and Plain Sailing Weather.
Plain Sailing Weather is a jam.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a banger.
and then Welcome Interstate Managers by Fountains of Wayne. I
Okay.
love Fountains of Wayne.
Okay.
Great band. This was their third album, and it's the one that got them nominated for Best New Artist.
Nice.
The
There's a few.
Grammys.
Great job with that because there's a few bands on there. It's like, how did I miss Frank Turner?
Yeah.
But like the thing about Frank Turner, and I used to joke about this, is like I love half of every Frank Turner record.
Yeah.
Like there are songs there. Half of the songs I don't care.
Yeah.
I think but maybe I'm being a little bit unfair. But like his songs that are good are freaking great.
They're great.
And there are some songs I just I don't care.
And have you ever seen him live?
Yes.
God, he's an amazing live act.
Yeah.
He's really good.
Yeah. He's great. I mean, there's a reason when the Olympics were in London that he played.
Yeah.
There's
He was
a
part of the
reason for
opening
that.
ceremonies at Wembley.
Yeah. There's a reason for that.
And he's on the road constantly. I don't know how he does it, but he'll play here like twice a year.
Yeah. Yeah. He's just an old road dog,
Yeah.
man. You just write songs and you go out and play them in front of people.
Yeah.
It's a simple concept that works.
Yeah. Dylan still does it.
Does he though? No, just kidding.
Dude's constantly on the road.
I mean, so does Willie Nelson. I mean, at this point, I think
they're on the road together right now.
I just think that you could probably put Willie Nelson and Bob Dylan just on a platform and light them and just have them slowly turn, and they wouldn't even have to play, and people would pay to see that.
I think that was pretty much the last Brian Wilson tour.
Yeah. There you go. I saw Brian Wilson on that tour.
Did you?
On one of his last. Well, I can't say his last tour, but like within the past 8 years, I saw Brian Wilson play here.
I thought hard about going to that, and it seemed like it would either be wonderful or crushingly depressing.
It was great. It was really great.
Was it good?
Yeah, I really enjoyed myself.
Good.
Yes, and I was glad I went. Like most things in my life, I was regretting scheduling that one because I'm really great at making plans, and then like when it comes time to follow through on plans, I'm like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
And especially when it comes to live music.
Yeah.
Because I still love music very much. I'm not as in love. I've fallen out of love with live music.
Yeah.
It's got to be something I'm really connected to go see. And, I went out to go see Brian Wilson. I believe it was at downtown Phoenix with, what's the venue down there?
The one named after a bank or the Orpheum?
One named after a bank.
Yeah, it used to be Comerica.
Yeah, there we go.
It's Arizona Financial Theater, I think.
Yeah, I saw him there and was like I was really glad I went. I was surprised at how good it was.
He's been he's gone now. When he was still touring, he was doing it with a very, very good band. I know the last time he did it, he had some of the members of the Beach Boys who are not like central core, like Blondie Chaplin was with him. I think Al Jardine was too.
So, what was like have you ever had an experience like that where you bought tickets and you're like you didn't want to go, and then at the last minute you're like, why did I do this? And then you showed up and had a great time.
Oh, God, that's probably most of them. Yeah.
Yeah. At this age, right? It's like you buy them you buy tickets when you're in a great mood. And then a couple months go by and it's like,
and really the last few shows I've been going to, I've been driving to California to see him.
Yeah.
So you do hit a point where you're thinking like, I've just driven 400 miles and now I have to go stand in line outside this place to get in and try and get a decent spot.
I think
why
I
did
like
I
that,
do this?
I'm kind of like in that. I think it gives you that added jolt. Like I could totally fly anywhere right now if there was a band I really wanted to see. I'm like, hey, you want to go to Portland to go see blah blah? Like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
I would be excited. It gives that little extra jolt. But it's like, hey, you want to go down the street to see this band you really love? Like,
I mean, the killer for me, my entire life, I've been a Specials fanatic. I love the Specials. They played the Van Buren, and I didn't go because it was on a work night. And I was thinking I was going to go, and then kind of went, I'll I'll see them next time. Like they're good, like like they tour here all the
Yeah.
time, and then their singer died a year later.
Yeah. But if specials play at Pappy and Harriet's, you're probably there.
I'm driving over. The last 3 shows I've gone to, I think, have all been in California. 2 at Pappy and Harriet's and 1 in Anaheim.
Yeah.
And then the last one I was thinking of was just this past Saturday. Fishbone played at Pappy and Harriet's. I thought about going over to that.
Yeah. I mean, Tuesday.
But they played at the Crescent Ballroom about 6 months ago, and I didn't go.
But I mean, Tuesday night at the Rebel Lounge, one of the best punk rock bands from Chicago, who are descended from the greatest punk rock band in Chicago, played. Right? It was a band called Peg Boy, and it was a bunch of former members of Naked Ray Gun, and they played it. I mean, I live 10, 15 minutes from the Rebel Lounge.
Yeah.
I was like, it's Tuesday night.
Yeah. You just played the Rebel Lounge.
Yeah, we just played the Rebel Lounge. It's just like,
Yeah.
do I want to drive all the way over there? Yeah, I'm tired.
Yeah. And I'm way too sensitive to annoying people in the crowd.
Yes.
That seems to be getting worse for me.
Yeah. But that's the way it is. But again, and even I can overlook that. It's just like, hey, you want to go to San Francisco to go check out whatever? Like, let's go get a ticket.
Yeah.
Get a plane ticket and a ticket for the show. I'm in, and I'll be excited about it, and I won't care that somebody just made me spill my $20 beer.
Yeah. Yep.
Come full circle, man.
Yeah.
I've become my parents.
Yeah, good old man music discussion there.
We apologize. Man, if you're still listening to this, man, A, thank you.
Yeah.
B, we apologize.
Yeah. It took a little off the rails, but that's sort of what we do.
Yeah,
See, the key is we take it off the rails deep into the podcast.
Yes. Yes, we
I'm
hook you in.
annoyed by podcasts that start with this shit and then get to the reason.
Yes. Yes.
If people had to listen to us babble and then we bring in Paul Bentz for the discussion, that would annoy the hell out of me.
Yeah. Paul's the hook.
Yes.
To get you into our crap.
Yeah. We appreciate the people who enjoy listening to us babble, but we're not going to make you sit through it.
No.
You've already committed like 45 minutes to get to this point. You could have bailed. You can bail now.
We trick you into listening to us babble about bullshit.
All right. Well, that seems like a good wrapping point.
Yeah, I'm gonna go yell at some kids to get off my lawn.
Yeah. Have a great weekend.
Yeah.
See you next week.
Thanks for listening. You can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, the Google Store, or anywhere else you get your podcasts. See you next time.